Slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form of a line is an equation written in the form y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope and b represents the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis and the x-coordinate is always 0. So let's look at what the y-intercept is. So in our first graph, the line crosses the y-axis right here at 2. So 0, 2 is the point, the y-intercept. And the x-coordinate, as you can see, is always 0. So that's what that means. So here's another example. We have a graph that's touching the y-axis at -4. So the x-coordinate is 0, so that's the point 0, -4. So the first graph has a y-intercept of 2, and the second graph has a y-intercept of -4. So we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept of the following equations. So all these are written in what we call slope-intercept form, y equals. So let's look at the first one. Y equals 4x plus 2. So the slope is the first number, which is 4. And we can also think of that when we're talking about slope, we want it in a fraction form, so 4 over 1. So we rise 4 and run 1. And our y-intercept is this number here, a positive 2. So we just write 2. So let's look at what the graph of this is, just to see what these numbers go to. So here's the graph of the linear equation y equals 4x plus 2. We can see that the y-intercept is at 2, and we have a slope of 4. So that means we would look at the y-intercept, and we can go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, and we'll land on a point on the line. Or we could start at the y-intercept and go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go to the left 1. And that'll give us a point on the line. Example 2, we have the equation y equals -x plus 2. So slope-intercept form, remember we have a invisible 1 here. So the slope is the first number, which is a -1. And again, since I'm talking about slope, I like to think of it as a fraction, so I could say -1 over 1. And then the y-intercept is a positive 2. So let's look at the graph of this equation. So here's the graph of the equation y equals -x plus 2. 2 is the y-intercept, so I could start on 2, and the slope of -1. That means I could go down 1 and to the right 1, or I could go up 1 and to the left 1. So there's the graph of y equals -x plus 2 with a slope of -1 and a y-intercept of 2. Number 3, y equals 1/4 x minus 3. So the slope is 1/4. And the y-intercept, well, it's not a positive 3, it's a -3. So what does the graph of this line look like? Here it is, y equals 1/4 x minus 3. So the y-intercept is at -3, and from -3 we can go up 1 into the right 4. Or we can go down 1 into the right 4, to the left 4. Number 4, y equals 10x. Okay, so it doesn't have a b, so that's just plus 0. So our slope here is -10. And again, if we're talking about a slope, we like it in fraction form, -10 over 1. And then b, we didn't have a b, so that's just a 0. So what does that look like? Well, we have a y-intercept of 0. In other words, this graph is going through the origin. And I have a slope of -10, so I fall 10 and run 1. Or I rise 10 into the left 1. and y equals 6. So remember, we have y equals mx plus b. There is no x here. So pretend that with the x will make a 0. 0 times x is 0 plus 6. So my slope is 0, and my y-intercept is a positive 6. So if I have a slope of 0 and a y-intercept of positive 6, that means I have a horizontal line, no slope, and it's touching the y-axis at 6. So now we're going to graph given some information. We're going to be given the slope and the y-intercept, and we're going to graph. And the way how you graph is once you've determined the slope and the y-intercept, you plot a point at the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 3, so we're going to go to 3 and plot a point. And then we're going to identify the rise and the run of the slope. Well, the slope is -2, which is -2 over a positive 1, or it's a positive 2 over a -1. So the first one I'm going to do is a -2, so that means I'm going to fall 2 and run to the right 1. Fall 2, run 1. And I'm just going to keep going until I run out of slots, okay? So now I need some points up here. So now that means I'm going to go positive 2 and to the left 1. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw a line. I'm going to connect my points. Okay, so here I have a y-intercept of 3 and a slope of -2. Okay, this next example, I have a slope of 1/2 and a y-intercept of -4. So let's plot a point at the y-intercept, which is -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So -4. And now I'm going to apply my slope, which is a positive 1 over 2, which is also equal to a -1 over -2. So I'm going to start with a rise 1 and run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Now to get some points this way, I'm going to go use the second one. -1 over -2 is equivalent, so I can go down 1 and to the left. Down 1 and to the left. And then I can connect my dots and draw my line. Okay. So here's the graph of a line with a slope of positive 1/2 and a y-intercept of -4. All right, so let's take it up a notch. Instead of being given the slope or the y-intercept, we're given the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So we need to identify the slope and the intercept. Well, the first number is the slope, and the second number is the intercept, and it's a -3. So now I have a slope of 2. So rise over run, which is positive 2 over positive 1, which is the same as -2 over -1. So now I'm going to start at my y-intercept of -3. 1, 2, 3. Always start at your y-intercept. And now I'm going to rise 2, run 1. Up 2, over 1. Up 2, over 1. Up 2, over 1. Now I need some points to the left here, so I'm going to fall 2 and go to the left 1. And again, I'm going to connect the points and draw a line. Again, y equals -x plus 4, so we're going to graph this. So we have to determine the slope and the y-intercept, and we're going to remember there's an invisible 1 here. So my slope is the first number, which is a -1, and my y-intercept is the second number, which is a positive 4. So let's rewrite our slope over rise over run as -1 over positive 1, or positive 1 over -1. I'm going to start at my y-intercept, which is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to apply the first slope. I'm going to fall 1 and run 1. Fall and run, fall and run. And now I'm going to apply the second one. I'm going to rise and go to the left. I'm going to rise and go to the left. And then I'm going to connect my dots. All right, now we're going to be given the graph. We're going to work backwards and determine the equation of the line. So to write the equation of the line, I need the slope and the y-intercept. So first I'm going to find this y-intercept. 1, 2, 3. So that's a -3. So that's a -3. And I'm going to find two other points. I'm going to find a point where the line crosses exactly. Where this line crosses, and it crosses. So to get from the y-intercept to the point to the left, I'm going up 2 and to the left 1. Or to get to this point, I'm falling 2 and going to the right 1. So my slope is a -2 over 1, or a positive 2 over -1. And that all equals -2. So I'm just going to write the integer of -2. And the equation of the line is y equals mx plus b. My slope is a -2, and then it's -3. So y equals -2x minus 3. Which, if we look at it, was